Hello, welcome to my bench. Today we're just going to play around with some meters. I have here my collection of meters that will read capacitors. We've got, starting from the left here, up on the screen, right up there, is just my plain old meter that I use for everything on the videos. It has a capacitance function. Here, this thing just went off. I have a meter that's made to read capacitance and inductance and resistance and diodes, but that's all it really does. It just reads them. It doesn't do anything else. Other than, it doesn't give you ESR or anything. Down here, I've got one of those little Chinesium meters that will read transistors and diodes and everything, and it will read capacitors and give you ESR for the capacitors out of circuit. Here I've got a in-circuit ESR tester. This particular one is a blue ESR tester, and its job is to read ESR only, but in circuit. And over here I've got a auto LCR Meter XL, which will read LCRs, inductors, resistors, capacitors, that kind of stuff. See if I can get this so you maybe get a little better. It's about as good as it's going to get, I think. So we're going to use it in capacitance mode. Right up there it says Auto C. And we're going to use it on 100 hertz, which is we're going to use it for electrolytics. So, first of all, we're going to start off by measuring this cap, which is a 470 microfarad at 16 volts. And we're going to read that on just the plain old meter up here up in the top, right there. So, read it first and see what we get. Easier said than done. And what does this meter say it is? It takes a while for it to do it. It says it is about 504 microfarads, 504.3 microfarads. It's 470, 20%. All right, now we're going to read it on this meter, which should give us just the capacitance, and it says it is 490. So it's going from 503 to approximately 504 to 490. Then we're going to read it on this little guy down here. And what does it say? It says it is 494 with an ESR of 0. Let's make sure, short our leads out here. Yeah. See if that makes a difference. Might have a built-up charge in it. Nope. Okay, so it's got a good ESR. It's 495. So we got 503. This other one was, what, 490. 494. Now let's test it on this guy here. Everything equal. And this one takes a little while, and the leads are a pain in the neck. All right, so it's flashing around till it gets done. And the lead fell off. Hold on. It's reading at 476 with an ESR of 0.186 ohms and a phase relationship of minus 86.84 degrees. This is where this meter comes in better. It gives me a phase relationship on the capacitance. And we're doing this at 100 hertz, which is as close as I can get to 60 for filter caps. So, what have we got here and why? Well, we got 5 different readings. Well, this one, let's see what this says as far as ESR goes. Remember, this one said 0.186. This one says 0.16. Get rid of the, zero it out. Now it says 0.09. All right. So what is going on here? None of them agree at all. Why? Well, tell you what. Let's see how all of these different meters actually read a capacitor. So I've got my scope hooked up here. Let's bring up the scope. There it is. Let's make that a little bit bigger. So, here's my probe. Let's get this meter. This camera is right in front of my face, so if I accidentally bump you, I'm sorry. So let's take that 470 or this meter. Let's do it in the same order. So let's hook our scope up to the output of what's on the test leads of my regular meter. There we go. That's what we've got. Let's take that down. Whoops. Down a little bit. All right. So what we've got here is basically a triangle wave, sort of a quasi-relaxation triangle wave. And what is our frequency? Our frequency at this is what? About 13.5. Let's see if I can bring this up. Oh, now it'll let me make it bigger. Okay. That's right. Okay. So we've got about 13.5, 13.9 kilohertz at 1.68 volts. So it's measuring this capacitor at 13 kilohertz, 14 kilohertz, let's say. All right. That's that meter. Let's move on to this meter and see what it says when it's measuring. There it is. It went to sleep. Okay, so this meter is measuring it at sort of a weird-looking little sine wave at 895.7 kilohertz and 6 volts. All right. This meter is doing what? It's measuring it at come on. You can measure it. Come on. Okay, 494 in ESR for that. So let's get it before it falls asleep. Okay. So this one, I don't know if I'm going to be able to. All right, so this, if you watch it, let's bring this down here. See if we can capture this. See what it's doing. So basically, this is bumping through. Wow. This is hard to capture. This one's bumping through a bunch of different settings. If you can watch it there. All right, so this one's hard to capture, but it's reading in a completely different way. And then what does this one do? Okay, this one has a sine wave of approximately, well, can I get it to latch? No, because it is actually moving all over the place. So let's do a single shot and capture that. So what are we looking at? 99, about 100 hertz, which is what I said right there. So this is measuring it at approximately 100 hertz at 515 millivolts, half a volt. All right, so all of these meters, every last one of them, does it in a completely different way. Oh, we forgot this guy. This is not going to be exactly... This other one in the back, all it does is measure ESR. So this is the one that goes in circuit. Let's go back over here, go to auto, and run. Okay, so this one measures it with pulses. Negative going, no less. Pulses. About, what are they? The pulse width, let's capture one here. If I can get my mouse to work. All right, there it's in the middle. So what are we looking at? 10 microseconds. So it'd go from approximately here to here. We're going to call it a 10 microsecond pulse. All right, so it's measuring it at a 10 microsecond pulse at approximately 600 millivolts. So again, a half a volt. So it does it completely different. It's it measures it completely different. So what do we know here? Okay, what we know is that all of these meters are reading these capacitors in a different way. If we take these guys, a big bag of electrolytic capacitors, and measure them out, we're going to come up with usable, although maybe not exactly the same, but usable readings on all of them with different amounts of information. Like this little capacitor here, this is a 2.2 microfarad, 50 volt cap. It's reading 2.19, that's really good, 2.2 microfarads. It has a, phase relationship of minus 88 degrees, and supposed to be minus 90, that's fine. However, it says that it's 19.6 ohms of ESR, which is extremely high. That's way too high. So that cap's not any good. So let's tie this guy back here in the back, since that's its job as an ESR tester. Let's see what it says for the ESR. It says it's 2.7 ohms of ESR, which would be okay. That would work. However, this one's measuring at 100 hertz, whole different animal. So let's get this one and measure this thing and see what it says. This one says it's 2200 at 2.1. Okay, 2.1 ohms, 2297 nanofarads, 2.2 microfarads. So it pretty much agrees with that one back there. Now this one, just going to measure capacitance only. It should agree with everybody else about 2.2. 2.2, that's fine. And let's measure it on this up here. This should measure approximately the same thing because it's 2.2. 2.3. So it's measuring 2.3. So all of them agree as far as capacitance. And they all, well, these two agree as far as ESR. But this one does not agree as far as ESR goes, because it measures them in a completely different way. This is a 10 microfarad at 100 volts. Okay? So we'll start again over on this side. And what do we got? This thing isn't quick, that's for sure. All right. So this is reading 10 microfarads, about 6.3 ohms of ESR, and 87-degree phase. All right. Let's try it on this guy. And it's reading 10.89, 0.93 ohms. Okay. And a 1.3 V loss percentage off phase. So it'd be 88 or 88.7. Okay, which is close to what this read. And also on this guy, we got 10 microfarads, just fine. And on our meter up here, we got 10.87, 10.8, 10.78. All right, so all of these are reading fine. I did not measure this one with this meter in the back. So let's say a 1.3. All right, so that's good for a 10 microfarad. Here I got another cap. This one came out of an old radio. This is a 10 microfarad at 40 volts. So we're going to hook this up here and check it and see what this says. Well, greater than 200 millifarads, which is like 10,000, or no, that would be that's way up there. I've got 2 degrees of phase rotation, 170. No, that doesn't make any sense at all with that meter. Let's hook it up to this meter, see what it says. It says negative, what does it say? Negative, bouncing all over the place. It doesn't know. And let's try, okay, this guy decided to do its shut-off thing. Okay. Let's hook it up to this guy. And see what he says it is. He says you got a resistor and a coil, an RL. You got, oh, what we have here, folks, is we have a piece of wire. We have a 0 ohm resistor. So let's put this guy on resistance and we'll measure our capacitor. From here to here. So what do we got? We have a dead short. This capacitor is a dead short. You don't run across that very often, but I thought I'd save this one for you. This thing went, I don't know. This thing said, well, it's a piece of wire. This thing said, I haven't got a clue, and I don't even know what'll happen if I hook it up to here. Well, it should read it as a dead short, since this is basically just a very low resistance meter. And it says, I'll bet you that's what the lead length stuff is. The zeroed out. And this thing's saying, yup, it is a 0.12 ohm piece of wire. So if you were measuring this and all you did was that, you'd have no idea. You know, oh, the ESR is fine. It's 0.12. That's good. Put it back in circuit. No. No, because what you end up with is a short. Yeah, the ESR is fine. Yeah, sure it is. On a piece of wire, the equivalent series resistance of a piece of wire is very low. And that's what this is. So, there you go. 5 different meters, 5 different results. All of them useful, but all of them different. So what would I say? If you were going to go out and get one of these things and you didn't have a lot of money to spend, which should you get? Well, this thing? No. It's great. I use it all the time, but I use it because I'm looking for capacitors with really good phase relationship for that. It's okay. Way overkill. This thing? No, it does pretty much exactly the same thing that my meter does up there, and it's just a waste of money. I got this. We'll go through this later for inductors. Okay, as a resistor, yeah, it's an ohm meter too. So no, not that one. This thing, definitely, absolutely, positively, for sure. Get one of these. Put it on your bench. Why? To save yourself time. This thing will measure in-circuit ESR. It'll also fool you. If the capacitor is shorted, all it sees is the resistance of that hunk of wire in the middle of that capacitor. If all you've got is a little bit of money, this is great. Get one. You want one later on, go buy yourself one, but you have one of these to save yourself time. But of all of these right here, this little $20 piece of junk is not a piece of junk. This thing was the one that showed that resistor, that bad resistor, as a piece of wire. It was also within the ballpark of all the rest of them for ESR, for capacitance, for everything else. If you really want one piece of gear that does it all, and you don't have a lot of money, even if you do have a lot of money to spend, this is the one thing to get. Yeah, can you get better ones? Sure you can. Is the reading going to be any different? No, not by much. Just get the one of these that, suits your needs the best. $20 to $40. That's what you need on your bench. Okay, guys. Hey, thanks for watching. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, please. And don't forget to register down there, or subscribe, as they say. I don't know why I keep register stuck in my head. And ring the bell if you want to know if I'm doing more of this stuff. So, till next time.